welcome to another episode of Keeping Up with Conspicuous. Obviously, we wanted to welcome our guest on, which is Ray Dilsons, who is the managing director at Garage Hive, which we'll be learning all about. But I'm also joined by my lovely co-host, who is a lovely face to have next to me, Nico Roussos, who is our director on the UK and European side at Conspicuous. So thank you both for coming on. I know Nico and Ray, you know each other quite well from what I assume. So it'll be nice for me to get to know you and the audience to get to know you a little bit better, Ray. Um, so I guess we'll sort of start a little bit about who you are really and
Yeah,
where you've come from, and we'll start there.
sure. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me. Right, I'm Ray Dilsons, Managing Director of Garage Hive. I'll explain what Garage Hive is. It's a software as a service for independent garages, so the companies that do MOTs, oil changes, so maintenance of vehicles and everything. So we operate in the aftermarket of the automotive industry, and our main customer base is in the UK and Ireland. And yes, I'm here to tell you more about how we operate because we believe it's a bit unusual.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely something that I haven't heard of since being within this industry. I don't know about you, Nico.
No, absolutely. Obviously, as you said, firstly, thanks for having me as well, and pleasure to have you on, Ray. So yeah, as you touched on, obviously, I've met Ray many years ago. Well, makes us sound very old, but not that long ago. Five or so years ago, anyway. But yeah, as you say, really interesting industry focus within the sort of garage sector. It is very unique, as Ray touched on, and really interested to hear the journey and the background to where you were, where you came from, and where you've got to today. Because as I said, I'm not sure that there's really anyone else out there that does it, and I know that you've got and built a big community, and there's a lot of things that you're going to touch on today. So I won't go into too much detail. I'll let you
Sure,
disclose.
no problem. Yeah, so I believe the viewers of this podcast, it's a mixed bag of people from the industry as well as Microsoft partners. So I'll try to keep the story engaging for both sides. Um, a bit of a background about myself. So my journey with Microsoft Dynamics started in 2003. So I was fortunate to join a company where um, we've been developing a dealer management software based on Nav. Back then it was called, I think it was called even Navision. Like, they changed the
Yeah.
names many times.
Mhm.
Um, and, I was a bit younger, 21 years ago. And I was fortunate to travel a lot around the world. So as you know, how these ISV businesses often happen, you have a vanilla product from, let's say, from Microsoft, and then you build a customization for customer number one, and then you go to customer number two, and then you try to improve that IP and build it better, and then better and better, and then that's what we did. So we ended up developing a pretty good dealer management software, which was distributed around the globe. But the approach we took was more like a project approach, which means every time there's an opportunity in any country, we just hopped on a plane, traveled, let's say, to Japan, next week to Algeria, then to Mongolia. I was fortunate to stay there for a month, implementing a system to Mercedes dealership, for example, in the winter. That was quite fun experience, I must say. And then it's all fun, but to be honest, I quickly got sick and tired from this project approach because it's very exhausting. It's fun for the first few times, 10 times so, but then you get tired. And then this was around the time when Microsoft, they announced this initiative called Road to Repeatability. I believe it was year 2014 for us. So I was
Okay.
fortunate attending a program where they try to change the mindset of Dynamics partners to go from project approach to product approach to go repeatable, and it really ticked in me. And then this is how this is what made me to kind of start off this Garage Hive idea. So that's
Absolutely.
really
I
that.
think it's really interesting. And did you sort of see like a niche within the automotive industry? Have you got a
Absolutely.
passion for the automotive industry? You interested in that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've been thinking about it. It's like what made me end up here. And to be honest, the reason is probably a negative experience as a customer. It's I think my first
Okay.
car was a old BMW with a crazy large engine. I ended up swapping the engine like months later because I bought a totally ruined car and everything. And then I had a few more bad experiences, and then I guess I always strive to make a garage a better place, like specifically the service department, because I think there's so much that can go wrong. Um,
Mm,
and then, yeah, so this was my kind of spark why I did this. But regarding finding the niche, absolutely. So when when we took this to the next level from project approach to product approach, we did a market research to find a place in the world where we could take the IP that we have accumulated over the years and then basically scale. Um, we ended up choosing UK as a very good market. Why it's good? Because, as you know, it's a country of small business. There's a lot of small businesses, and if you speak
Yeah.
independent garage sector, there's like 30,000. It depends how you count, but it's like roughly 30,000 businesses out there, and they all need technology. Um, and then this is how we ended up there, starting this Garage Hive thing. Um, so when we started, it was obvious that we entering a very competitive space, highly competitive, and the only way to find our unique offering is through a strong engagement with the customer, with garage owners, with
Yeah.
garages. Because if we listened, it was clear to me, if we listened carefully to what they want exactly, it means we can build a better product and we can build it faster than our competitors. And this is what we do. And therefore, we proudly call ourselves a community-driven garage management software. So this community is an essential element of our business because it all started purely as a method to listen to our garages, but it transformed to something more. It transformed to a whole platform for us to build friendship with our customers as well as customers meet other customers and then learn from each other. Yeah, so that's quite amazing. So as you know, in many things in life, you don't know at the moment when you start, you don't know where you're going to end up with that,
Yeah.
and then we definitely ended up in a nice place. Yeah,
for sure. And I think something you touched on there, which is really interesting, and I know that we've spoken about it before, but I'm sure you probably want to expand a bit more
yeah,
for the listeners. Is about that community side of things and how you've used that community to help grow the business and the product. Um, so
absolutely.
I know about the conference side of things, So
Yeah,
if you want to sort of tell us how that's all linked together and help you to really grow the business.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to tell you more about that. So at that time when we started, like 7, 8 years ago, I believe. Well, there were a lot of forums where garages discuss some technical stuff. For example, how to remap an engine for the Citroen whatever model, and then a lot of conversations were there. And what was interesting to notice that even like people made some friendships there, but they never met. So it was quite interesting to observe. And then as a software vendor, it was clear that we need to create our own group before customers create a group about our product. So it's better if we are the ones who start this, and vice versa. So kind of to lead the group instead of follow the group. We ended up choosing Facebook as a platform for a forum. I totally dislike that idea. Because I come from the corporate segment, like my background is more corporate, and as you know, Facebook wouldn't be the choice number one. But they have to understand the reality. We're dealing with small businesses, and in small businesses, often private life and work intersect, and it's just that was the place where everybody were hanging out. So we created that group, and it grew over time. So as of today, I have some statistics for you. I think it's quite cool. So we've got 1,700 members, and according to Facebook,
Well,
1,600 are active members, which means
Oh
it's
wow.
it's it's, it's it's a live group.
that's very good.
In last 28 days, we had 149 posts made, and then 99% are community made. Like it's not Garage Hive. We had
Wow.
more than 200 comments. 2,000 comments. in the last
Gosh.
28 days, and then we had 5,000 reactions, which means likes and
Yeah.
emojis and stuff like that.
Engagements, yeah.
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 So, and I think this just demonstrates. I don't need to tell you more, but it is active, and it just organically grew to this stage, and it keeps growing. We created the group as a place for primarily for garage owners to interact. But as you can imagine, the bigger the group grows, the group grows, it's harder to filter people
Right.
who is in that group. We did check every member, every new request to join. But again, so I think it's a mixed bag. So mainly garage owners, then key members of staff, and then a few invited people like preferred suppliers, or industry consultants, such. So group is great, but it was obvious. I told you about these friendships people made on Facebook, but never met in person. So for me, it was so obvious that, hey, I've been to places like Directions, these big conferences. This is just cool. You guys, you've been recently to this summit.
Scottish
What's called
Summit.
the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scottish Summit.
Yeah.
I've seen the
Yeah, yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
You seem to be having a good time there. Yeah,
Of course.
that's, that's
Very good.
really cool. Yeah, and so why don't we create a place, an event, a live event where people can meet? And this is how the blend was born. And the first one was in 2019. We had 60 people, first ever.
That's good.
And the last one was this year in September in Birmingham, and we had more than 400 people, and
Wow.
that was amazing. So I think what's really makes me proud is two things. First is that it's growth, 27% attendee increase since last year. So that just proves we're doing the right thing. The second thing is we had more attendees there who are garage owners, but they are not Garage Hive customers. And I really am proud of that because we created this group not to primarily serve our customer base. We created this community to serve the industry because there's so many businesses that need help.
Yeah.
And then you'll be surprised, even businesses in the UK today, garages who use pen and paper for running their business, like as of
That's
tomorrow.
Wow.
crazy, isn't it? And I
It is.
guess I guess as you sort of mentioned to us previously, the community group is like a continuous feedback loop. So
Yeah.
is it that you get everyone that's sort of involved, are the type of posts them talking about their pain points or things they struggle with and people sort of saying how they overcame it? What type of posts do you get from it?
Oh, all kinds of posts. As just today, I saw a post from a good member of the community, someone who was with us for many years, about how to organize workshop tools. So there's a lot of tools in the workshop you can imagine. They're quite expensive. How can you organize? How can you manage? How can you know who have the tool? Has the person put it back? And stuff like that. It's a real problem. We wouldn't know about it. We wouldn't consider this if nobody told us. And then obviously a lot of people jumped on it and started saying, "Hey, yeah, we need to have a solution. Can you build something in the system?" So that's one type of conversations we get. The other type of conversations we often get, people get frustrated about staff problems, for example, some discipline problems, and then we have like HR basically related conversations, and then we have some people who are more knowledgeable in that space and that they share an advice. So that's another one. We get moral support. Mental health is a big deal. It's a really big deal in the industry.
Yeah.
uh, I think there's a lot of people who find themselves in a bad place right now, especially mechanics. It's a quite rough environment to work at, and this is why we also want to support that. So we partner with charity called Ben. This is they focus on automotive space specifically, and then they have like a helpline where people who struggle, can call and get some help. um, and also at the blend this year. So we had like a health check station, health check and mental health
Okay.
check station. So basically anybody could come and check their physical, like blood pressure, body fat. I did this test as well. I'm not going to tell you my body fat percentage, I'm not proud of that. But and then also discuss if people want to discuss some struggles they're going through. And then as a result of that event, so we proudly call it the event a non-profit event.
Yeah.
So all the money we raise through sponsorships and ticket sales, we donated to this charity, Ben. So we did a hike before the blend, which we
Oh,
also
wow.
raised money with. Then we did all the profits, all the proceedings, and then we had some auctions, some fun auctions, selling shirts on the stage and everything. And then we raised £15,000 this year, which is quite impressive
That's
for a small
brilliant.
business like Garage Hive.
That's so good.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is also a type of conversations we get a lot. Yeah.
That's
Good
so
stuff.
good. And I know, Nico, I'm only going to ask this now, just while we're on the topic of conversation, then I'll pass it over to you. But just out of interest, because I know mental health is quite a big thing, but I know you mentioned about that stall, but I'm just interested. Did many people actually take up the opportunity to go to that stall and speak to people? Because I know there still is a slight stigma with mental health and people not wanting to talk about it. There still is that barrier there. So, do many people use it? I know. I
Yeah.
just am
Yeah.
interested.
I think more and more people use it. Some people are still feel maybe shy about it, but
Yeah.
I think our community has been very supportive and very open. So there's like a lead by example. So many people openly told their story, how they struggled and how they overcome the problem. For example, we had a session. So the sessions at the blend, some of them were uh, given by community members. I have a session by someone who was openly telling the story how he was a drug addict, all, like all everything he told, all the crazy stuff, how he was, going
Wow.
through mental health problems and everything, and he has overcome this. He's now not drinking, not using any drugs, and he's running successful business, sharing time with family and everything. And then examples like this really encourage other people to open up. That's one thing I want to
Yeah.
say. So that health check station, yes, it was very well attended. I think roughly 30 people,
That's
three
good.
zero, attended. And one more thing I want to say that in the UK, says because I'm not from the UK, I'm from Latvia originally, and coming from another country, I can see the difference. So, for example, in other places like in Eastern Europe, this subject is quite often a taboo. People are even more shy to talk about it. Where in the UK, relatively,
Okay.
it's quite well spoken. So I think it's a good example. So even though it can be improved in the UK, you guys are in a relatively good place compared to the rest of the Europe. I can tell.
Interesting. And
Interesting. Oh,
yeah, and I've got to say, the whole sort of the blend idea and the concept there, I think is incredible because, as you touched on, obviously you and I have met at a number of different conferences in that's much more focused on the software side of things. The blend and the conferences that you put together, as you say, it's for the community and it's very, very sort of specific and focused. So I imagine 95% of the conversations people are having there are all super, super relevant. Obviously, when we
yeah.
go to some of the technology focused conferences, maybe 50% is relevant. Whereas this, it's all very specific for your industry. So every conversation you're having is going to be meaningful.
Yeah.
And, you're dealing with people that have been through the exact same issues or problems or, have the same sort of questions that everyone else there has. So it's a really, really great opportunity for everyone to come together, share their ideas, knowledge share. So, I think we need more of that in both in the tech space and in any profession, really.
Yeah.
So what's the plans for the blend? Is it going to go international and Garage Hive? I guess. What's the longer term
Yeah.
plans for both
Yeah. For
sides?
for Garage Hive. So just to comment what you said there, Nico. I think the key here is being specialized, because
Yeah,
when you are specialized, you can really have this nuanced solution for the customer, and then you find another customer with the same problem. Like you can serve, and you end up serving a bunch of customers, and then everybody's happy because the cost of the service is lower, and then the quality is higher. So this is why often Microsoft, when they release a feature, they have to guess what everybody needs. It's such a hard job,
Yeah.
like sometimes just impossible. And that's why people don't feel that much engaged with that feature service they release, and sometimes they do, but most of the time you need this partner who delivers this specialized element and tailors to the market. And therefore, we've been sticking to our guns for many, many years, and we've been exclusively available in the UK and Ireland because we didn't want to lose this specialized element, so specialization. Um, and then I think we did the right thing because we had opportunities from around the globe, and we intentionally declined. So now, when we believe we have our footprint pretty good in the UK, we're ready to scale. So we have last year started the business in South Africa. So it's in early days, but we will try to replicate as much as we can from the UK, also including blend and community. But it takes time.
Yeah.
And then we have just launching the first customer in Iceland. Again, it's a lovely place to visit, and it's a quite a big island, but there's not a lot of people, and therefore it may be overlooked from technology companies. But we do find a good opportunity there for us, and then we started there. But we are actively looking for good partners around the world who are interested in this opportunity to bring blend to their country. Sorry, not blend, but blend as well, but mainly the Garage
Yeah.
Hive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and why I'm saying this? So many ISVs are taking the approach that they find a country on the map. Let's say Brazil. Nice. What they do, they find obviously a country must have some Microsoft partners, Dynamics partners. They find these
Yeah.
partners and they call them up. Hey guys, you know Business Central. I know Business Central. Do you want to resell our solution? Fine. But often there's a problem because the partner doesn't understand the industry, the vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you give them a solution and tell them, now please go and sell, they show up at a demo, and then the customer, they see this immediately, whether the partner understands the business or not. And it's quite a struggle. So it's quite a
Yeah.
struggle to overcome. Therefore, with Garage Hive, so far, we've been instead of partnering with Microsoft, we've been partnering with people from the industry, and then we've been teaching them the missing element, like the technology. So we're giving the technology, and that was quite successful. But we also understand that it may not be that lucky to find a partner like that in every country. So I think it's a mixed bag. Again, we will be
Yeah.
looking for Microsoft partners who are willing to really focus on the automotive or have already some presence in the automotive, or people from the automotive space who want to you know have a competency in IT. So that's the thing. And I'll be attending this Directions EMEA in a couple of weeks, where there's a lot of good Microsoft partners there. So I look forward to connecting with anyone who's interested to know more.
Absolutely. And I think you touched on a couple of things there. And one thing that I did obviously want to discuss a little bit more is you mentioned how, as you said, when new waves and everything get released, it's very specific. And when we were at Scottish Summit, we actually had there was a seminar with a panel of people from larger enterprise companies that were end users. Um, and it was just interesting to hear different ISVs, different end users sort of say, actually, there isn't much out there for niche industries. And sometimes being able to translate that and, you know, put that into your business can be quite hard. So we've
Yeah,
got a comment that has tied into this quite nicely about what specific challenges in the automotive industry has Garage Hive addressed, and how have their solutions impacted customer experience. Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the challenges would be being able to translate this into such a niche industry, and get others to learn it. But is there anything else that you've sort of, yeah, overcome or faced at the moment?
yeah. So I think in the automotive industry, specifically garage sector in the UK, obviously the lack of people in the industry, lack of new people in the industry, so lack of talent. Um, so I think it's getting harder and harder to attract new people to work in this because it's not that appealing to young. The young people, they prefer IT, I know, something cool, CRM, sales, you know how it is. And then actually a lot of our speakers at the Blend were there to encourage, or they share the stories how they encouraged um, new talent
Yeah.
to come and work in this field. So therefore, indirectly with events like the Blend, we support that. But if you speak directly, definitely the productivity is something we can really raise with technology, and basically, so less people can do more work. So that means that it's still labor intensive, but they can achieve more. Therefore, we hope that technology helps us be more productive and have less basically staff. But again, it's not the problem. For example, we this summer we released our first AI feature in Garage Hive. Um,
Okay.
so which basically help to translate a vehicle inspection. So when the car is in the workshop, the technician uses a tablet to go through the inspection and mark what's wrong with the car, if anything. But
Yeah.
this is a technical check sheet. So what we have done with the help of AI, we translated this technical information into basically an explainer text for the end customer. So why it's important to change that part or to replace this, which is a productivity tool, obviously. So that means
Yeah.
front of house doesn't need to be that maybe that knowledgeable about these technical terms. Um, and also they can maybe serve more jobs per hour or something. So this is one of the examples where we do help. And one more thing, I think it's quite straightforward. If you think about who are the main customers of garages, well, who are the customers garages are fighting for? And if you imagine like an average like 30-year-old professional with a maybe not brand new car, but maybe 3 years old car, and then driving Audi, let's say, and then they want to serve this customer. So the expectations of the customer are pretty high. They want the digital experience of booking in, uh, approving the estimate, seeing photos, videos of what's been done on the car, uh, getting a survey automatically, all the fancy stuff that previously only main dealers were able to afford, the technology to do that. So
Yeah.
with system like Garage Hive, so they can really compete with the main dealers. And then I think this is where we have got pretty good progress, so to say. So basically, the competition is another way.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. And I think we've had a couple more comments. One is just loving the fact that you've blended the automotive industry with dynamics. They said that that's their bag, so that they're excited to hear about this. And we've actually got someone who has a bit of experience with Garage Hive. I don't know if you know Tim Benson, Ray,
Oh,
but they said how you
hi
embrace the
Tim.
community, and really, and really reiterating what Ray says, it is something special. If that can be replicated around the world, then that would be amazing for the worldwide industry. So I think that's quite nice to hear for you as well, especially if they've worked alongside you or been involved.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think just to touch on what you said as well there, Ray, is I think two of the things that really stand out to me is number one, the community side of things, which what you've created, and it's not just purely off the basis of focusing on Garage Hive. It is the community as a whole and the industry, which is I think incredible. And the other thing which you just touched on a minute ago, which I think is really that an excellent way to grow the business, is not to just want everything at once, is to take time.
Yeah.
Like you said, you've done specifically the UK and Ireland as a starting point, made sure that you've really nailed things down and got it to where you want to be, where you're proud and you're happy with the product. And now you can slowly start to expand that, because yes, everyone would love to be global after a year, 2 years, but if you run before you can walk, you're almost setting yourself up for a lot more issues further down the line. So I think that's a really great thing that you've done, you and the team with the business.
Thank you. And I do agree with that. Run before you walk. You know how to
Yeah.
walk. Absolutely. Yeah, we've been we've been receiving offers in the early days to branch out to other countries, but we just were not ready. So now we
Yeah,
are.
Yeah,
good.
I think that's really good. I'm so glad you brought that up because earlier when I was saying there was a couple of things that he mentioned, well, Ray, that you mentioned, I was thinking that was one of the things that I wanted to say, but you know when your mind goes blank,
Mm,
so I just had to say the other point. Um, so I think that's super important. And obviously, I know you're within the Dynamics Nav BC as we now know it. Have you, just out of interest, have you adopted Power Platform into it at all? Is that something maybe in the future you would adopt into the business?
Yeah. So should be careful with these names so I don't say something wrong here. So
Okay.
Power BI, is it
Yeah.
part of Power Platform or is it? So because it's how you look at it. So Power BI was part of our offering from day one because
Okay.
it wasn't just BC, Business Central, that we were selling. It's also Power BI and like a suite of reports ready-made for the business to be more
Wow.
successful. And that's actually our unique offering in the market as well because they get
Oh,
like super cool reports. I have to give all the credits to Alex Lindley, the other co-founder of Garage Hive, who is a data freak. So that's this is his passion, and he's from the industry. He's a garage person, so therefore he
wow.
knows what the industry needs more than I do. And yeah, so that's something we do offer a lot. We are considering other Power Platform bits like Power Apps
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but we are careful with this because it's hard to scale these things. Because if well, the moment they become highly intensive on the support, this is and the end customer may not have like in-house, how you call it, citizen developer who to deal
yeah,
with those
Yeah.
bits. This can be quite a burden. But yeah, we are considering to offer like more features from the Power Platform that currently just Power BI that we do. Yeah.
great.
That's
Just
super interesting.
sorry, just to jump in on that point, and I think when we spoke before, Ray, you mentioned about I think it was the Power BI reporting that you had utilised when you were lobbying before. Is that something you can share
I mean
about the
the trend.
MOTs? Was it the
Yeah, of
MOTs?
course,
Yeah,
of course. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, sure. So a couple of years ago, we thought, what else cool can we do with the community aspect? Because we have all the people there, and then we see that we are helping them, but we could do more. Yeah. So and what we created a public website. It's called garageindustrytrends.com. Anyone can go there and have a look. So what it is, it's a combination of data from our customers and only those who have opted in. I quite proudly say this. We're not like Google or Facebook who kind of force you into this. It's like voluntarily happens, and luckily there's a lot of people who opted in. And the second thing is open source data. There's a lot of available data out there. People just don't use it. Maybe maybe don't have time for this or whatever. But there's a lot of gold
Yeah.
there and it's just laying there. And then what we did is with the data from our customers. So it's first of all it's anonymized, but you can see it on the map by postcode area. So it's not
Yeah.
exactly postcode, but postcode area. So it gives you a perspective. It gives you metrics like um, average invoice value, so you can know what the average invoice value is. It was a hot topic when there was the crazy inflation going on like a year ago or so, like half a year ago. So everybody was
Yeah.
wondering what others are doing. So that was a really helpful tool. So we get average invoice value. So average invoice value, labor rate. Sorry, average invoice value and labor rate. These are two things. And then number of future bookings. So how much cars people have in the diary. That's quite a good indication because if you are not busy, you're wondering, am I doing something wrong?
yeah.
Or is it for everyone? Maybe it's a cycle in the economy or something. And the other one is NPS, Net Promoter Score. So we I think that the only ones who calculate the aggregated Net Promoter Score for the industry. And what's cool about it, it's done. So the data is refreshed daily, so it's nearly real time. So this is amazing. So you can go and check it out, and many people use that. The other bit is from public data. That's the MOT analysis. So as you know, in the UK, so private garages do MOT tests, but then it all is reported to the government institutions. So some time ago, there was the UK government was considering prolonging the period between the MOT tests, basically postponing the first MOT test for much longer. And the argument was that there's a lot of electric cars, there's not a lot breaking down in them, there's not enough maintenance needed, et cetera, et cetera. But that would affect all the vehicles. And then also modern vehicles are more simple, they said, and everything. Or more reliable, not more simple, more reliable, which I don't agree with. So, but there was a risk that they will approve this MOT scheme change. And then what they saw, there was a flashback from the industry that it's not a good idea. And then what we did is, so by then, garage industry trends was a thing already. It had a good reputation as a reliable source of data. And then government had this MOT consultation. So they were asking opinion from members of the industry about, is it a good idea or not? And so there's an organization called IMI, so Institute of the Motor Industry. So they represented the interests of this industry and tried to prove that it's not a good idea. And then they used garage industry trends data about MOTs that it in fact isn't a good data. And basically, I'm sure I can't take all the credit, but it was a substantial element that influenced the decision. So basically, we won, and then they didn't make the change, and everybody was quite happy about it. But of course, there's a mixture of many circumstances. But that played a crucial part as well, I believe. So that was pretty cool. And the coolest fact about this, the data, all it was public data available. It's just someone, in this case, Alex Lindley, our co-founder, just took the data, analyzed the data, presented the data, and then obviously cooperated with someone who has the voice in the government, and just proved the facts. There was evidence brought up, and it's just an example that there's so much opportunities out there, and people just don't see them. So
yeah.
Well, I know we can definitely plug your website with all the updated statistics, etc., and everything in the comments for people to view, because I know that we saw it and it is really cool. But I mean, we're going to have to wrap up there, unfortunately. I know you've got so many good things to say. I think both myself and Nico can safely say it's so interesting to hear from different ISVs who have been so specialized into an industry, and the way that you're sort of transforming it with both the community aspect and just the technology itself is super amazing. And I mean, from the comments, we can definitely see that people are interested in this. I'm sure there will be people that didn't know this has sort of existed. So I'm sure if there's any other comments, Ray, if there's any that are sort of specific to you, I'm sure he'll be happy to sort of reply back to them as well. So yeah, I mean,
One more thing.
Go on then.
One more thing before we go, something we ask all of our guests. Put you on the spot a little bit here. If you weren't doing what you were doing now with Garage Hive or Dynamics, what else would you be doing? What other sort of profession would you want to do?
Wow, you got me there. I think I always had a passion for education, in terms of like I might be like I wouldn't say high school teacher, but I might be like helping young people to to strive, to learn, to excel.
Nice.
Because I think that's really powerful. It's just you can create. So it's like 1 + 1 is 5,000 million. It's like you can create much more. And I think that could be what I'm doing, and I might end up doing it anyway. So
Oh, there you go.
The
There you go.
world's your
I like that
oyster.
answer.
You're
Yeah.
still young, many years ahead, so that's good. But no, thank you for answering that, and Ray, thank you so much for coming on. It's super interesting, as I just said, to hear about this, and I'm sure we'll see you at some future conferences and events, and we'll definitely pop some links down below for people to have a look at the events that you do and everything like that. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
Thank you very much. Lovely to speak.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.